It's Becky with Life Keys Energy. Welcome to tonight's restorative yoga class. For class tonight, you will need 2 row-sized blankets and 2 yoga blocks. Let's go ahead and get started coming into Sukhasana, heels in line with the groin. Starting to rock side to side, feeling the sit bones connect to the earth beneath you. Coming into just a little bit of stillness here. Bringing the shoulders up to the ears, waterfall the shoulder blades down the back. And start to imagine a string on the top of your head, pulling you just a little bit taller. If it feels safe, close the eyes, and if it doesn't feel safe, lower the gaze down to the ground. Taking the next few breaths, how does it feel to breathe tonight? Where does that air want to go? Where does that air not want to go? We're going to open up tonight's practice with 3 cleansing breaths. It's going to flow straight into 5-3-7 breath. So taking a deep breath in through the nose and a full exhale out through the mouth like you're fogging up a mirror. 2 more. Last one. Breathe in through the nose for a 5 count. Hold the breath at full for a 3 count. And exhale out through the mouth like you're breathing through a straw for a 7 count. Inhale 5. Hold 3. Exhale 7. 3 more, just like that. After your last 5-3-7 breath, come back to deep yogic breathing. And bring the hands to Anjali Heart Center, pressing the thumbs into the sternum. Take just a moment to set a sankalpa, or an intent, for today's practice. Exhale, release the hands to the knees and drop the chin to the chest. Inhale the ear to one shoulder. Exhale, chin to chest. Inhale, ear to opposite shoulder. Exhale, chin to chest. Continue with this, let your breath start to carry you. When the ear finds one shoulder, go ahead and leave it there. Bring that same arm up and over, adding just a little bit of pressure. And walk the opposite arm away from the body, lengthening the scalenes. Inhale, lift up, switching sides. Bring the ear to the opposite shoulder. Bring that same arm up and over. And walk the opposite hand away from the body. Inhale, lift up. We're going to interlace the fingers, bring the fingers back behind the occipital, drop the chin to the chest, and then round the back, look down at the belly, and see if you can find that fascia stretch from the top of the occipital all the way down to the tailbone. Inhale, lift up, release the arms and roll out the shoulders. So we're going to go ahead and open up with the supported Paschimottanasana. So because we're not in our studio right now, we are going to make our bolster. And for this class, we do that by taking 2 throws and rolling them together. I personally like to start with the fringe and roll my burrito so that the fringe is inside, but that's because I have a princess and a key thing that happens. You may or may not want your blocks handy. That's going to totally depend on your range of motion and what you're comfortable with tonight. So bringing your double burrito onto your mat, you're going to work that burrito right underneath your knees. Go ahead and roll the legs and let the toes flop out. We're going to lift up through the spine and then gently walk the hands forward and let the back round. If the range of motion does not allow you to get low enough that is comfortable, if hanging out like this is comfy, hang out like that. But if this isn't comfy, you're like, oh, it's pulling, it doesn't feel good, grab your blocks and lift your lap up to you. Whatever your body needs to be comfortable. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes. What we're hoping to have happen is all of this fascia will relax in the next 5 minutes, allowing us to get into it in the rest of the poses. We're taking some deep belly breaths here. Taking some deep breaths here. Let the breath do the work for you. Slowly deepen your breath. Walk your hands back, bringing yourself back up to the seated position. We're going to come off our burritos. For the next pose, we're going to come into supported balasana, supported child's pose. So we'll keep our double burrito and bring it lengthwise down the mat. We'll bring the toes together and the knees out super wide as is comfortable for the hips. Slipping your burrito between your legs, we're going to walk the body forward and rest the torso down on the burrito. Your head can turn from either side. And the arms can be outstretched overhead. Maybe they feel better down below, back behind you. Play with this here. We're going to be here for a little bit. As you're laying here in supported balasana, I'm going to encourage you to bring your awareness back to your breath. Specifically, can you feel your low back move when you inhale and exhale? Can you notice what your ribs are doing on the side? Not in the front, but on the side. Are they expanding? What's happening up at your collarbones? Perhaps there's some tension showing up in the breath. Perhaps the breath feels tight around the collarbones. Just notice. Can you gently coax the air down a little bit lower? Might feel good to turn your cheek to the other side. Slowly deepen your breath. Bring the hands back underneath the shoulders and push yourself up into a seated position. The next pose is not always a crowd favorite, but it's super effective. I'm going to show you the supported version first. If you already know that you have super open hips, go ahead and skip the supported version. You'll want to have your bolster, and you may want your block. We're going to bring the bolster widthwise down across the mat, about a third of the way down the mat. From here, we're going to do tabletop over our bolster. You're gonna pick your favorite leg, doesn't matter which, because we're gonna do both. And you're gonna bring that favorite leg over the bolster so that the shin is roughly parallel with the front of the mat. The back leg is gonna extend back behind you. The foot is going to be straight, not sickle. And your bolster is gonna be under your hips, under those sit bones. From here, you're probably gonna want your block to come down onto. Maybe you'll want to come down onto the floor. You got choices. Remember, we're going to be in this pose for 5 minutes on each side. Some of us aren't going to want to use a bolster. But if you don't want to use a bolster and the hips don't come to the ground, grab your little block and slip it right underneath the hip for support. You don't want this pose to be extremely painful. It shouldn't feel as active as it does in a typical flow class. You should just feel a really gentle stretch. Taking some deep breaths here. And I know, gentle is totally perspective based. So deep, deep breaths. I'm going to hang out here for about a minute and a half more. Taking those deep belly breaths. Slowly deepen your breath. So this is one of these poses that we're going to come out of super slow. So we're going to walk those hands back. From here, turn the toes under and come back into tabletop. Swoosh the hips from side to side. Notice how that back's feeling. Notice how both hips are feeling. And we're going to come into supported pigeon on the other side. So bringing your other leg up and over your bolster, walking your extended leg back behind you, adjusting anything that you need to here. Maybe not using the bolster and using a block, totally depends on you. Bring it on down. Hanging out here for about a minute longer. Taking some deep breaths. Deepening the breath. Bringing the hands back underneath the shoulders. Walking the hands back. Bringing yourself back into tabletop. Take a moment, move the hips, take any movement that you need here. The next pose we're going into is called deer pose. We also call it reclined spinal twist quite frequently. So we're going to go ahead and keep the double bolsters. And you're going to bring one leg, one hip right up to the bolster. You would like that hip to touch. For this pose, I'm going to suggest bent knees that are staggered, but if stacked is more comfortable, by all means, try that. We're going to lift up through the spine and twist over our bolsters and place the belly onto the bolster. The cheek can turn to either side. It just depends on what feels best. And we'll start to feel an opening in this low back and even a little bit into the outer hip on the top. We're going to be here for about 5 minutes on each side. Close your eyes, get comfy. Slowly deepen your breath. Bring the hands right underneath the shoulders and push yourselves up. We're going to come into the same pose on the other side. So turning the hip, Staggering the legs, lifting up through the spine, twisting over, and placing the belly on to the blankets. Once again, turning the cheek to either side, whichever is best for your neck. Slowly deepen your breath. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders and push yourself up to a seated position. For the next pose, we're going to leave everything just like it is, but move our bodies. So bringing the back of your hips up to the bolster. We're going to bring the soles of the feet together, the knees open up wide. This is where I'm going to suggest some of us put a blanket over our hips. It'll make us feel a little more comfortable. From here, we'll walk back and then open the arms out wide into gold post arms, allowing the chest, the low back, and the hips to open up in supported Supta Baddha Konasana. This is our final pose before our prone Savasana for tonight. We're going to hang out here for one more minute. Slowly start to deepen your breath. We're going to bend both knees and plant the soles of the feet onto the ground. Roll over onto one side and use your arms to push yourself up. For our very final pose, Savasana is always, always, always an option. So if you would like to come flat onto your back, maybe slip the bolster under your knees. That is totally optional. I am going to go into a prone Savasana that I find quite delicious for my back and hips, and I would love for you guys to try that too. So to do this, you need to separate your bolsters into two separate burritos. And one of the burritos is going to go at the edge of the mat. And then you'll take the other burrito and put it about 2/3 down the mat. From here, we'll come into tabletop again and start to walk those knees out super wide with the soles of the feet together. The ankles are resting on that first burrito. The second burrito, the one at the top, is right underneath your hip bones. If it's not under your hip bones, your back isn't going to feel delicious. But supporting the hip bone, to lay down and turn the cheek to either side, bringing the arms up and over the head, making a diamond shape of sorts. This posture is great to open up the hips. It relieves low back pain beautifully. It's super grounding because we're so flat on the earth. Breathing into the floor offers some beautiful awareness. Feeling the pressure of the breath. Slowly start to deepen your breath and start to wiggle your fingers and toes. Bringing the hands underneath your shoulders. Push your hips back to meet your heels for modified child's pose, Balasana. Walking yourself up to a seated position. Bringing to mind one thing that you love about yourself. One thing that you're grateful for right now. And offering yourself just a moment of gratitude for taking time to practice today. Bringing your hands to heart center, pressing the thumbs into the sternum. I leave you with this passage from page 94 of the She book. When you want the same safety, beauty, comfort, and protection for the world as you want for yourself, you move us all a little bit closer towards heaven on earth. I am so very grateful for the opportunity to practice with each and every one of you. I sincerely hope that you leave this practice feeling just a skosh better than when we started. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. If you find value in these Wednesday night offerings, please let your friends and family know. They are going to remain free for everyone. If you're looking for different kind of yoga or you want to practice with me more often than once a week, join us on Patreon. And I don't remember what else I'm supposed to say here. So in the meantime, be kind to yourself, be kind to others.